labels are in front of us. It's called the Food Labeling Revision of the Nutrition and Supplement Act's label, and it's got a much longer name for food labeling part. So it's serving size of foods that can be reasonably be consumed. This word reasonably shows up quite a few times. Lawyers love that term. In my own life, I don't really know many reasonable people, but it comes up all the time when human beings are sort of in that conversation. So, serving sizes of foods that can reasonably be consumed at one eating occasion. Do column labeling, updating, modifying, establishing certain reference amounts, customarily consumed. Serving size for reference is something there, and technical methods. And as part of this exercise, the FDA is proposing to reduce the daily reference value for sodium intake from 2,400 milligrams to 2,300 milligrams. So that's what the current label looks like. What they're proposing is this new label, where you see the calories just stand out at you. So it's about calories, so it's also been designed to get people to understand very quickly on what matters most, based on what we know today. So it tells you serving size, how many servings per container, so that that quantity that was customarily consumed now has a different light on it. So you cannot eat the whole bag of whatever you were eating, because you're supposed to eat 8 times at each serving. It's got the calories. And it's also talking in the context of percent daily value, and sodium is part of the conversation. FDA realizes that this shift, this change, is also going to have a tremendous impact on many foods, on the eligibility of many foods to bear nutrient content claims and to be regarded as healthy. And that, I think, is a major issue. And that's what we're doing. So there's disclosures and disqualifying statements. So there's a requirement for disclosure levels with nutrient content claims. So if a product exceeds certain levels for fat, saturated fat, etc., and sodium, so there's now a request and requirement that you would have to put C nutrition information for sodium content. So sodium is being highlighted. And for people who do not know, and there are many who do not know, that sodium now is something to worry about. So that's one part of it. And products bearing health claims must meet certain criteria. So if you have something, if a company launches a food product, and they say, oh, this is very helpful, this is actually good for you, or you can actually say that if that food contains less than the specified level, the number of key ingredients, of key nutrients. So it's going to be fat, total fat, saturated fat, cholesterol, and sodium. Seems very simple, seems very plain. How difficult can it be? Actually, it can be. But before we get to that, a couple of other things that we should know about, and that is about express and implied nutrient content claims. So an expressed nutrient content claim is a direct statement where we're saying that this food has this much X. It's very simple, this is what it contains. Seems very simple, right? Maybe we'll talk about that. Then there's this implied nutrient content, where you describe a food or an ingredient in a manner that suggests that the nutrient is absent or present in a certain amount. So you could say a product contains no salt, but what you're implying is it contains no sodium. Ladies and gentlemen, not all foods that contain no salt also contain no sodium. That's never good. And the suggestion, as I said before, is that if the food is useful, it's got a health implication, etc., then you have to worry about those nutrients that are singled out. And so healthy and low sodium now have to go hand in hand. And it makes people wonder about, is this food healthy for me? And the question that I would ask is If a food is high in sodium, does it become unhealthy? Can it cause harm? And that is something we do not know. So FDA definitions right now, I'm just going to go through it very quickly, is we use percent daily value to compare products, and at the moment 5% daily value of sodium, which is about 120 milligrams, or less of sodium is considered low sodium food. 20% DV is 480 milligrams per serving is considered high. And we've got these sodium content claims. This is the CFR for most packaged foods. And so you've got salt, sodium-free, very low sodium, reduced sodium, light in sodium. And by the way, there are a number of other monikers. I only put a few because that's all slightly longer. But there are a number of lightly salted, no salt added, unsalted, things that a marketing genius comes up with to make their food just seem so good for you. But there are some guidelines. And FDA just didn't stop at that. They also went on to the meats. So there's another one for the meats section. And that's in the Code of Federal Regulations, Net 9. And again, it goes through sodium-free, very low sodium, etc., etc. You get the picture. It gives you a guideline. Now, the salt of the matter is when, and I took this out of the Innova database paper that they published very recently. And they looked at where does sodium come from in the diets of those people. And so what you see is, like this. So naturally occurring sodium in particular wheat products is about 12%. Added during cooking is about 5%. Added with table is about 6%. We clearly don't know what that means. That is added is about 6%. And then there's this thing called resistance. 77% of what Americans eat today is, 77% of the salt that comes in is coming in from processed foods. And what's important is this includes prepared meals, restaurants, delis, home delivery, school food service, institutional foods, meal kits, prepared snacks, etc. So, just a quick question. How many of you today prepare your breakfast from scratch without using anything that is pre-made? 1, 2, that's it. 3, maybe 4. That's unwise. So a lot of our food is coming from a source that's been pre-made, and in the process of being pre-made, they have to add salt and sodium for one reason or another. And this is where the big issue is. And this issue now has this new salt shaker. And this salt shaker now is, this salt shaker now is something that is being considered and has already been implemented in some areas to warn people that it is high in sodium. But what we don't know is how much is still wrong. And we'll talk about that in just a minute. So we're looking at sodium is too high, and this is a menu stack. So we talk about foods from Sbarro, Boston Market, Applebee's, Quiznos, these fine eating establishments that you find in airports, right? Where each meal contains more sodium than you're actually supposed to consume for that day. But they have to add it for a number of reasons. We're trying to figure out what's going to happen. But what's in the pipeline is that little label to warn diners that the dish that they're ordering has more than 2,300 milligrams of sodium, which, according to health experts, increases the risk of stroke and cardiovascular disease. But this rule applies only to food service establishments with 15 or more locations nationwide, and includes restaurant, bars, and theaters. How many people in bars actually look at the bowl of pretzels and say, this is more than the amount of sodium I should consume for a week? I don't know why this is yellow. Philadelphia and California require sodium on menus today. And Montgomery County here in Maryland has proposed adding sodium That is. It's already happening. So there are going to be sodium symbols out there warning people that what they're going to be eating contains sodium, which means something must be wrong. It's not good for you. But the question I ask is something different. What I put over here is beets, Swiss chard, celery, artichoke, and I could put a whole number, spinach, etc. Let's take beet, for example. Simple beet, and I put that in the very first slide, is a halophyte. It's a plant that loves saline material. It's very high in sodium. A single beet contains about 60 to 80 to 90 milligrams of sodium. So, if someone was going to have a beet juice and beet stew in the afternoon, and there are people out there who actually overdose on beet, are they harming themselves with that sodium? And by the way, that sodium comes in the form of sodium nitrate. So the question is, which sodium is bad for you? Is it sodium chloride? Or is it any origin of the sodium that comes in your leavening agents? And is sodium nitrate somehow different? Because what if a school food service decides to make a pizza? They take out the high sodium items, but they put Swiss chard. Let's assume living in this magical world, the kids actually eat Swiss chard pizza and have slices of celery and have, instead of a soda, drinking beet juice. How much sodium have they consumed that day? We are making 10 milligrams. It's a question to think about. So it's the intrinsic sodium that I'm talking about. Apparently, Jerry Seinfeld's wife, Jessica Seinfeld, put out this cookbook about stealthily sneaking in vegetables into consumer foods. So she actually has a recipe for this brownie. It looks delicious, but it contains kale. And when you eat it, you have no idea. The kale is a source of sodium. So on top of all the leavening agents that you put in there to get the right texture, the right taste, the right feel, the right mouthfeel, and the stability, and it bakes out nicely, you have now added kale and upped the sodium. And you've got these things that people are chugging. I just came from Expo East, it's a natural products Expo East in Baltimore last week. And people were drinking this and some juices like this as if there is no tomorrow. And kept saying it's wonderful for you. And I was mentally here already, thinking about my presentation and wondering, how much sodium are there in sodium? And is that sodium good or bad? Which then makes me wonder, does it make a difference as to where the sodium comes from? And are we, in the process of creating these rules and regulations, forgetting one element? And how do we include that to make sure we don't throw a baby out with the bathwater? Then there's another part of it, and that has to do with manufacturers and retailers. And this is the area where I largely work with. There are some concerns. So there are issues right now. The media has a label and often talks about food industry not being responsible, being lazy, adding salt because it is an easy way to mask, age-related changes in a processed or packaged food product. Well, what is the alternative? And the salt substitutes that we have out there are often not approved for use, and the approval process actually can take quite some time. Even if prior use was demonstrated in the United States. Standard food requirements prevent use of certain alternatives and formulation changes. And if you're going to reduce about 25% of it, how do you communicate this to consumers? A friend of mine was invited by a large food company that had a dismal track record in Pakistan. And so she was asked to come in and help with the marketing of these new food products that are healthy for you. And she did. And the order that she got was a pretty tall one, because she explained to me that foods that had been launched by this company in Pakistan with the label healthy chips, healthy vegetable snacks, etc., really tanked in sales. And the reason was, most Pakistani men assume and associate the word healthy with tastes like cardboard. And tell their wives, anything that's not healthy, you have to do. Your wife is interested in serving her husband anything that had a healthy body. So there is a preconceived notion amongst many people that when you lower the sodium, when you call it low sodium, that it actually doesn't taste good. I remember a guy from Walmart said to me that if it says low sodium, my suggestion to people is open the container, throw the contents out, and eat the box. It will taste better. Okay. And then there's this other part of it, and that's this laboring tolerance. People sometimes have a little bit more just to be safe, so that they're true to the label. And then we're talking about new technologies. I know speakers after me are also going to be talking about new technologies. Here is one example. So it's a proprietary monosodium glutamate-free sodium reduction ingredient that's been derived from vegetables and sea salt. So seaweed is a great source of types of sodium. To be able to be added to a can of tuna so that it meets all the other regulatory requirements and that the product will be safe. But the question is, will it be the standard of identity? Will it be allowed? How long will it take for this product to go through? And then there is something else. We are in such a litigious society. We know about all these, this boar's head about sodium, these Campbell soups had a couple, Denny's and McDonald's have all had issues, because this is absolutely wonderful for those people who look at these litigations as a source of income. And this conversation about sodium now has a possibility for opening the door for more. So while we don't have scientific evidence to say a low sodium diet actually can help us conclusively, we have consumers who are, and attorneys who are perfectly happy to duke this out of court just so the bank balance gets better. Something to consider, about. Something else that's very important. Euromonitor recently showed that the salt purchased from packaged food by category for different countries, so it's Asia Pacific, Europe, North America, and West Asia. I'm only going to pick two. Asia Pacific, a large part of their salt comes from sauces and dressings because of the kind of food they consume. In the United States, it's the bakery products that really contribute most of the salt, and then the condiments. If you look at America, we are a melting pot in many ways. We've got different ethnicities. So when we start looking at lowering salt, I think we also have to look at which category. But I also wonder, I noticed that we did not have a physiologist here on the panel. And it was something that I wondered about. Does the amount of salt, the sodium that you consume, change, and its benefits change, depending on what else you consume with it? And that brings me to a very quick story, and that is, there's a story about this fellow who walks across a village, and he sees this old chap clearly hunting for something. And as he's looking for it, he decides to stop by and help. Starts helping him, a few other people walk by, they start helping him. And someone had finally asked the old guy, where did you lose this? And he said, no, I lost it inside my hut. So why are you searching outside? He said, it's too dark inside, so we're emptying it. It's good, more light here. And that is very relevant in our conversation about sodium. So we're talking about reducing sodium, we're talking about what it does in foods, etc. But have we ever considered the physiological aspects of it? And perhaps an ultimate way, and that is, instead of removing sodium, is there something we can add to a food product to mitigate its negative effect? So the grass status is under consideration, and should it be, be something, if salt is no longer grass, then each individual application will have to be considered. And it will have to be approved in food, not just by categories. And that brings me to the end of my presentation. Thank you.